Okay, fantastic. I'll just look at the time. So I'll begin now. It's 2 minutes past, but I'm sure more people will arrive. So welcome everyone. Today's session is part of Skills Week on building your personal brand. I'm Hayley Johnson. I'm a careers advisor here at the university. I predominantly support the humanities team, but we're also all over the place as well. I might have met some of you at drop-ins or appointments and other things as well. We're going to cover a few different things today, but I really hope you leave this session feeling more confident with what a personal brand is and how to start developing it and how to look for those networking opportunities and things like that. I do have my colleague in the session as well, Sammy, who's going to help with posting links and navigating the chat. So if you do have any questions, you can post them in the chat or send them to myself or to Sammy. But as I'm presenting, I might not see all of them at the same time as well. So go to the next slide. There we go. So please do register your attendance. If you just click that QR code there, that way you'll get sent all the slides. It's really helpful for you to have them. I think particularly with something like personal branding, you never know when you want to change things up and have a look at the things we go through. So please do scan that QR code or visit the bit.ly link. We'll keep posting it in the chat throughout for when new people arrive. But yeah, please do that. I'll just keep it on for a few seconds so you can. It's just really helpful, and then we can see as well who attended and get those slides sent to you as soon as possible. And the link again will keep being posted in the chat if you don't have time right now. So I always like to start just with our message on EDI. So we do know that not all students have the same experience when accessing career support or the recruitment process. So we are here to support you no matter how you identify. If you do want more information on that, please do visit our page, but we're here to offer impartial advice to whoever you are and however you identify. I always like to start with that just to make that very clear before any session. So what will you gain from today? I hope you gain a lot, but by the end of this session, you will hopefully know what a personal brand is and identify some of the ways you can build on your brand, understand your skills and experience and how they can be used to promote your personal brand, feel more confident when navigating LinkedIn. I am going to do some sort of top tips for LinkedIn and how to improve it and really utilize all the things you can do on LinkedIn. Hopefully you'll be able to express your brand when networking with employers, particularly as we have some careers fairs coming up as well. You might have been to some this week, but we do have more coming up this semester. And the do's and don'ts for personal branding as well. I've got a few little activities in there, mostly for your own reflection, so you might want a pen and paper or just a notepad open. And there will be a couple where I'll ask you to put some ideas in the chat, so please do participate. It just makes the session more fun, and then we can all see what we've learned as we go through as well. So to start with, what is a personal brand? It's many things, but not to sound cliche, but most of all it is you. And it's about what you're passionate about and your goals and how you feel as an individual navigating the world and the employment market and everything else. There's lots of things it can encompass, whether it's focused on your studies, your knowledge and experiences, or your skills. When we say experience, that can be personal and workplace. It doesn't always have to be a long list of internships or anything like that. It can be so many other things. It can be your passions, how you present yourself to your cohort, to academics or employers. Your personal brand can be about the things you're proud of or things you're very passionate about. Maybe it's climate change or helping people, supporting mental health, all kinds of different things, or whether it's solely focused on the sector you're interested in, whether it's marketing, healthcare, anything else at all. And one thing that I really do want to hit home with today is that your personal brand changes over time. So the more skills you develop and the more things you experience and learn, your brand will change. Today's session is not about you knowing exactly, this is my brand, this is what I'm going to affirm with and carry on with. It's just you knowing where to get inspiration for your brand and how to utilize it when you're meeting employers and networking online as well. A big thing to remember with your brand as well, it can be really important for your first impression. So the key things that you tell employers, whether it's sort of your first questions in an interview or when you're first networking with people online and in person, it's great to just have an idea of your brand to take with you. So you might not know where to start, which is absolutely fine. As I did note on the previous slide, your brand changes just like you do, so you don't have to figure it all out now. It's very unique to you. It doesn't have to follow a strict timeline. As I said, you don't need a list of experience or internships to have a brand. The fact that you're doing your degree now, I'm sure you've gained so many skills and knowledge, and you've learned a lot, and that can all encompass your personal brand. But it's great to think about what you want to be known for. So maybe think of things you've already done or that you're proud of. I do have some tips on the next slide for developing your personal brand online and sort of things to consider. So it might be, who do you want to be? It might be your career goals, sectors that you want to try out. It might be things that you know you don't want to do, but you want to explore other things. It could be, who are you online and are you the same in person? You might be much more confident online, which is absolutely fine, but you might have a few things that you really want to express to employers when you meet them in person. It's really great to utilize the online networking such as LinkedIn, because you really can seek out a lot of experiences and you can share them online. You can follow people and collect followers to develop your network and grow it. Of course, you can create content and build up your online presence. And if you do, after this, you might already have a LinkedIn, or you might start building on it more, hopefully after this session. You can book one of our 20-minute application advice appointments if you would like us to go through your LinkedIn with you, if you really do want to tailor it even more and you want someone sort of impartial to give you some advice on it, then please do book one of those appointments on your Career Connect is where you can do that. So introduction to LinkedIn, we're going to cover sort of where to begin with it, how it can help you, and the tips and tricks for LinkedIn as well. So where do you begin with LinkedIn? Maybe some of you do have a LinkedIn, or maybe you don't. You might have no idea what it really is, which is absolutely fine. So LinkedIn is a global professional networking site, and it really does make it invaluable for students to network with alumni, employers, with friends, family, your cohort, anything at all. It really can offer you some fantastic opportunities and help you learn and develop your skills online. It's used more and more by recruiters to seek out candidates for roles as well. So if you start actively connecting with people and developing your profile, it's a great place to start. Also, your connections are used to filter searches, which means the more connections you have, the more you'll see. And there's different levels of connections on LinkedIn. So the more you see and the more people you connect with, you can see people they're connected with, and you can find great opportunities through doing that in different sectors as well. You can tailor your searches a lot on LinkedIn as well. So if you want specific internships, maybe local to Manchester, maybe you want to work abroad, job opportunities across the world, there really is no limit to what you can find on LinkedIn. And also just to say that LinkedIn is definitely not for, professionals that only in their mid-40s and already have a really long career already. You can be on LinkedIn as a first-year student and put information about your modules and your passions about your degree. It really is a place where you can grow. So if you feel you don't have much to put on now, that's absolutely fine. We're going to cover some motivations and things that can help you spark up some ideas for your LinkedIn that will hopefully help you with that. So how can LinkedIn help you? So obviously you might make your profile, and then where do you go from there? So LinkedIn can complement your CV. It can include things that you maybe don't have room for on your CV. Typically, I'm sure you know that your CV would be 1 to 2 pages. You might make yours a bit fancier, but generally there's only so much you can fit onto your CV. Whereas with LinkedIn, you can go into a lot more detail about your passions, things you're interested in. There might be some events you want to share that you ran, but they just don't really fit in on your CV maybe. But you really can put as much as you want on your LinkedIn. We always say with CVs that you have to tailor them very specifically to the job you're applying for. Now, you definitely can tailor your LinkedIn, but you can also have a lot more wide-ranging things on there for all kinds of things you might have done, any volunteering you've done. So many different things can go on there. So it's really important to be aware of that. You can use it to research a company. So look into how a company markets themselves, what their current recruitment cycle and trends are like, where they're based. It's really valuable to do that. So I would highly recommend that you search up companies or sectors you might be interested in to get some insights into that sector. You can find jobs that suit you. So some of the biggest employers now actively recruit for graduates on LinkedIn. So you can explore those opportunities. There's lots of entry-level and graduate roles. So it's not just for senior higher up roles. There's definitely opportunities for you on there. There's also internships, work experience. I've seen work shadowing opportunities go onto LinkedIn. So it can be very useful no matter what stage of your degree you're at, or no matter what stage of your career planning that you're at. It's very useful. so you can find jobs that suit you. Of course, networking, we'll be talking about that a lot today. You can network with employers or alumni. Employers promote their brand online, so you can connect with them, learn more about what they do. There might be some employers that you've sort of wondered about but not sure what their values are or their work culture's like. You can use LinkedIn to search that up, see people that work for that company, see what kind of things they're posting with, maybe ask them some questions. You can really sort of find those behind closed doors ideas on LinkedIn about companies and their culture, which can be very useful when you're unsure of what sector you might want to go into. And of course, we have our University of Manchester Alumni Network. So they offer a really supportive space to keep up to date with your cohort and see what our fantastic alumni are up to. You can gain insight and guidance on their different sectors and their jobs. They post events, different workshops, advice on applications, things like that. It's a really active community, so I do recommend that you join that network. So I'm going to share some top tips for LinkedIn that I always think are a great starting point just to improve your networking capabilities on LinkedIn. So you can customize your URL on LinkedIn. When you first create your profile, you'll be given an automated one with your name included, but it might have lots of numbers and different icons after it, different symbols. But I've tried to show on here, hopefully it's clear. So on the top right here, you can click Edit Public Profile and URL. So that'll be on your home page. Once you go into that, you can edit your custom URL and try and make it as short and specific to your name as you can. So for example, when I did mine, I think mine's like Hayley-Johnson-21 or something like that, because it's quite a popular name or common name. So you can make it much more specific, which really does help when people are trying to find you and when they try and connect with you, you'll come up much higher in the search results. So that's a great place to start and to make it a professional and concise URL as well. You can edit your content. So this is really important when considering what things you might want to be shown first on your LinkedIn. So do you want to show work experience, your degree subjects, maybe something that fits in with your brand? Maybe you might have done an internship in marketing and that's where you want your future career to be. You might want that at the top, then employers see straight away that you have experience. You might be passionate about sustainability, so you'll have volunteering high up, so you'll want, again, experience up there. Or you might not have had time to do any sort of extracurriculars, which is absolutely fine. You might want your degree up there and the sort of modules you're studying, things you're researching. However you want it is your space, so please do sort of play around with how you can edit the contents on your LinkedIn. A really important thing to cover is your visibility on LinkedIn, so privacy. You might want to make your account private, so you can edit, as you can see there, I've got that there as a little screenshot where you can edit your visibility. You can make it so your picture isn't shown to connections, but your name and your header is. You can make certain things private. You can have it completely public if you want, but it is important to note that LinkedIn is a website on the internet, so there is scammers on there. And so that it's really important to remember that. So you can get a lot of messages from different accounts. So just be really aware of that and what your settings are and when you're beginning, and just keep that in your mind just in case. But I just wanted to have that on there. You will be sent the slides afterwards, and then you can see exactly where to click to edit those as well. So create an engaging headline. It is what recruiters see first. Whether they're scrolling through a bunch of different people, they'll see your headline first next to your name, and it is the most visible section of your LinkedIn profile. It's displayed under your name when users search for you, and it's on the top of your profile page. So it's really important that it's something quite eye-catching, something that employees will remember, or at least so it will give them an insight into what your brand is or what it is you're looking for. So something to consider is that it will show your most recent experience. So I want to have a little bit of communication here. So for example, you could have student at the University of Manchester. Do we think this is specific enough? Is it missing anything? What do you think recruiters will want to see? So it'd be really great if some of you could put in the chat maybe some ideas of what you might want in your heading. It might be things you're looking to do. It might be some of your experience, but it'd be great if in the chat of the next few seconds, you maybe put some ideas for what you already have as your LinkedIn header or what you might think would be more eye-catching. Yeah, major, definitely. So you'd put your degree program, 100%. Absolutely, thank you. It should mention what you're a student of, 100%. That's a key detail that should definitely be on there. Thank you for that, absolutely. Aspiring role, definitely. What job you're looking for, 100%. Yeah, oh, someone sent theirs as well. Fantastic. Innovation management and entrepreneurship student. seeking opportunities in different areas within business and management. That's an excellent example. Thank you so much for sending your LinkedIn header. But yeah, definitely. So those are all great ideas. Thank you for sending those. That's exactly what you need in your header on LinkedIn, 100%. So let's look at the next page where we have an example. So you just covered all the main ones there, which is fantastic. So you want things like maybe your skills, your experience, what you're interested in, or you're passionate about, or career goals, like the example we just had in the chat, whether you're seeking experience in entrepreneurship or business management, things like that. So we have an example there, a sort of fake student one we have. So Sam Routledge, biology student at the University of Manchester, building a career in sales and marketing. That can be made even more specific as well. So whether it's I have experience in this sector or you've done a certain internship, you can add maybe your academic research. So for example, if you don't have much experience, you could put your dissertation title, your passions like volunteering, sustainability. But I think those key ones to cover, as we had in the chat, the subject that you're studying, absolutely, what university you're at, because the University of Manchester is the most sought out from employers, so they all want our graduates to work for them. So it's great to have that on there just for name recognition as well, and maybe have what your career goals are or what you're actively hoping to develop, because straight away when employers see it, they have an idea of what you're about and what your brand is about. Again, I will say it a few times, but you don't have to have a long list of experience to stand out. Just giving your employers an idea of what you're looking for adds interest to your personal profile and your brand. So please do remember that, but those are some great ideas in the chat, so thank you so much for that. So if you're still not sure what to begin with, or at least what to have on your full profile, we've got some tips here for inspiration. So after creating your LinkedIn, you could start building your network and looking at how people present themselves for ideas. It'd be great if you could all network with each other on LinkedIn. You can connect with us at the Career Service. We post a lot of different things on there. So that can be a great place to start and see how other people are presenting their brand as well, particularly if they're in a similar sector or degree program you're in. That could be really useful. It'd be great to have a Word document and just write, see what comes to mind when you think of your skills or where you want to use them. It doesn't have to be perfect, but just have a play around and see what comes to mind. And remember, you can change your profile as much as you want to represent your current and evolving personal brand. So don't feel you have to have it all done in the first day. There's so much time to evolve with it. You might put if there's some companies you're interested in, so have a look at their information and marketing on LinkedIn, see the skills and values that they're promoting and looking for in a candidate. A lot of employers now, particularly those that do postgraduate roles, they like to post how their recruitment cycle works, what kind of candidates they're looking for. I've even seen top employers post application tips and advice. So it really is useful, and it's a great way to see if your ideas do suit what they're looking for, and if you think you are right for that job, and also just to see if your values align and whether they have a similar work-life balance that you're looking for. There's so many different things you can find on LinkedIn, and a lot of employers and employees at those companies will post what it's like working there, so you can get a real insight into what it's like. Next slide. There we go. So what motivates you? So considering your motivations for the things you've already done can give you a really good clue as to who you are and what you stand for. So I've just got some questions on here to help you start thinking about that. So it might just be, why did you choose your degree? Why are you interested in that sector? If there is one you're interested in, it's absolutely fine if you have no idea what you want to do. But again, so you could start with the degree you're in now and the decisions that brought you to where you are today. What made you volunteer, or what causes you care about? Who are you inspired by? Or maybe you have a part-time job, so you may think about, why do you enjoy your part-time job? Again, you don't have to know what you want to do after your degree to have a personal brand. You can think back to those decisions that brought you to your degree now, what made you want to study at university, and part of your brand can also be overcoming difficulties that made it to where you are today. There's so many examples of that you see on LinkedIn, and people use that to inspire others. So please do have a search online and see the different kind of things people are posting. So just a little task for you guys. You don't have to share this in the chat, but you absolutely can. It would be great if you did. So maybe write down a motivation. So these are just things for you to reflect on after the session. So why did you do it? It might be the degree you're studying now. It might be volunteering that you're a part of at the university, or groups you're a part of, anything else. But that would be great to post in the chat right now. So just give you a few seconds about that. Or while you're writing that, I can just see a question in the chat as well, which is a great question. So how to understand about work-life balance from LinkedIn? Isn't it more based on teams that you work with and more feedback from employees? It's a really great question. So I will say now that LinkedIn, lots of people that work for companies are posting about their experience in different companies, whether they used to work there or they work there now. And there is a lot of things you can read about work-life balance. So LinkedIn now has its own news section. So people post different things from journalists, different articles about work-life balance, whether it's hybrid working, working from home, and people will post their experiences at different companies and what it was like there. So it definitely can be based on teams that you work with and feedback from employees, but lots of people do post sort of real life experience of working for different companies. So it's a bit of both, to be honest. So that's why it's great to explore LinkedIn. So you really can find out about work-life balance at companies on LinkedIn. But thank you for asking that question. It's a really great one to consider. So hopefully you've written down some motivations now, and that can help you start thinking about your brand. So now we're going to think about how to write and talk about yourself. So, which can be hard to do. I know myself, when I've written CVs and other things, it can feel a bit odd writing about yourself and trying to almost, it can feel a bit braggy sometimes, but it really isn't when it's things like your brand and your CV. They want to see your achievements and things you've done. And also just to say, it's not just what you've done or why you did it that's important, it's what you have learned and how you can communicate that to others. So some things to know is to be positive about yourself, focus on the skills you've used and developed, or skills that you want to develop. So employers do also love to see skills that you're looking to develop via different opportunities. So you don't always have to have them all figured out. You can even put in your header that you're looking to develop more, whether it's marketing skills or lab skills, things like that. So when an employer sees that, they know that you're very enthusiastic for that sector, which is a great thing to include on your LinkedIn. Think about your audience as well. So what's important for them to know about you? Do you want your LinkedIn to mainly be connecting with your cohort and people you know, or do you want to really use it to find those job opportunities and connect with employers? In that case, you'll want it to be very professional and have lots of information about your skills and experience. It'd be great to emphasize what you've achieved and what difference did it make for you, and how it's brought you to today as well. So they're just some ideas for how to write and talk about yourself. Well, I've also included a consideration that there has been quite a shift on social media platforms. So lots of people, and this actually links to the question we had in the chat as well, where lots of people are being honest about challenges, including things like, work-life balance and lots of other things. And they're having very open conversations about difficult topics, whether it's resilience when searching for jobs, how to overcome rejection maybe, or whether it's that you're not getting feedback from your applications and you want to know how to improve, things like that. So it's important to remember that you can show and present as much as yourself as you want for your brand on LinkedIn. So if you face a challenge that you've overcame and you want to maybe inspire others, or you want to see if other people are also facing that challenge, you can 100% use LinkedIn to find that and to network with those people. There's a search function on LinkedIn. You can look up all kinds of things, read blog entries, vlogs, so many different things are on there. And lots of candidates open up about anxiety surrounding job searching, as it is a very competitive labour market. There has to be quite a lot of resilience when you're searching for these jobs. So many were in the position you're in right now, looking for jobs or thinking about graduate jobs maybe. So LinkedIn can be a really great resource to access guidance and employability insights. I want to say as well that there can be quite a stereotype around platforms like LinkedIn, and whether all the posts are just, people are pleased to announce that they've gained this new position or they've been awarded this new achievement or something, which are fantastic to see. Of course, we want to see all the amazing things you're doing. That's why we like them, we share them and things like that. But we do want to remind you that LinkedIn is more than just sharing amazing things you've done. It's also being open about your brand and finding those opportunities. Even employers now are being much more open about that. People post their interview stories and advice for telephone interviews, icebreaker questions you can ask. People have posted their worst interview stories and how other people can learn from them. There's so many other things available on LinkedIn, so please do explore that section of it as well. So back up your brand. What does this mean and how can you do this? So one thing I think is helpful for this is to think about the CAR model that you use on your CV, or that you may have seen online that we always promote to use on your CV. So that's context, action, result. So that's giving the context for your skill or experience, explain what you actively did So how did you add value in that context? What action did you perform that improved something you were working on? So be quite specific. And then the result. So was it a successful experience? Did you get good feedback? Did you maybe overcome a challenge and now that's really improved your problem solving skills, things like that. So the reason I'm going through this model is that lots of recruiters may first learn about you on LinkedIn. If you have an eye-catching header, they may go on your profile and have a read through the different work experience or any kind of things you post in the sections on LinkedIn. But if you don't include examples of things that you've done, it's giving your employers and your connections very little context. So you might have a long list of things on LinkedIn, whether you volunteered at the Whitworth Art Gallery, involved in student societies as a student rep, things like that. But it's important to have a few different examples on your CV and on your LinkedIn. So it's similar ones that you would put on your CV, but for LinkedIn. I've just seen a question as well in the chat, would this not be covered already in your CV? A really great question as well. So as I've mentioned, or I will mention again soon, that LinkedIn can be an extension of your CV. There'll be lots of things in your CV that you won't have room for. If your CV is only one page, for example, if you're applying for a role in finance, where typically your CV is one page, you won't have room for everything you've done or for all of your brand to be on that CV. So LinkedIn can really be that extra room and space to really go into what you're passionate about and the things you've done. And I think it's really important to just be aware of when you are putting experience on LinkedIn to include these specific things. And the next slide is going to cover why do you need examples. So hopefully that helps answer that question as well. Thank you for that in the chat. It's really useful that we're talking about these things. So to develop your personal brand, it's important to give context and examples for your experience and skills. So if you only add titles for your experience, it's going to be very vague. It's going to be a vague profile, and employers want to see what you've learned, what you've experienced, and the transferable skills you've developed that will apply in your future graduate job. It doesn't need to be as formal as your CV, but I've put the CAR model on there just to help you reflect on your experiences and just to help you present your value as a candidate. Again, it doesn't have to be written as formally as that, but it just helps you to start thinking about the context, action and result you've had when you've been involved in different things during your time at university. And having examples will really help you improve your networking online. So you could connect with other alumni that were in the same society as you, or maybe ran similar events. They might be working in the same sector you're interested in. So examples really do help. An important thing to note, which I will cover briefly after, which also sort of answers that question that we had in the chat, is that lots of opportunities are found directly through LinkedIn. An employer might not see your CV. They might only see your LinkedIn first. And if that's the first thing they're looking at, but you don't have any examples, then they might not bother, going into the recruitment process with you. So it's really important that all the things you're using to market your brand for employers, that they're all up to that same standard. And for example, when we discuss cover letters and CVs, they both have to be strong because you don't know which they're going to look at. So it's really important that you include that detail. So I thought as a fun activity, we would improve my LinkedIn. So I realized last week when I was preparing for this session that I hadn't included on my LinkedIn when I was a student representative while I was at the University of Manchester. So this is what the add experience box looks like on your LinkedIn. So as you can see, I've added the date of when I was a student rep. At the bottom, you can add skills. So they give you some suggested ones based on the role you've put and based on your LinkedIn profile already. So whether it's social media, public relations, communication, things like that. So right now in the box, I volunteered to be a student representative. Do we think that's enough? Is there anything else I could put in there? It'd be great to see some ideas in the chat of different skills you could put. Some of you might be a student representative right now, or I'm sure you all have one in your cohort. So it'd be great if in the chat, maybe we had a few ideas of what I could do to improve this experience. So when an alumni or someone I know, an employer looks at it, they can see some skills that I've gained. So I'll give you a few seconds to maybe put some ideas in the chat. Thank you. Oh, so I've had one sent to me directly. Thank you for that. So someone has put communication skills in the department meetings. Absolutely. When you're a student rep, you definitely sort of learn any problems that are in your course and you take that to departmental meetings. Absolutely. What was the motivation, what you did, 100%. That'd be a great thing to have in the description. So I've put on there, I volunteered to be a student rep, but why did I volunteer? Did I just do it on a whim, or did I think I really want to represent my cohort and help solve problems and be that sort of middle person to help the cohort communicate with the staff? some details on what you did as a student rep, 100%, yeah. They want to see some details on things that you've done. So because they read that student representative, they don't know what you actually did. They don't know if you just volunteered once and that was it. Was there anything that you had to do? Did you have regular sort of check-ins with your cohort? Did you solve lots of problems? So having that experience is really important. So thank you so much for those in the chat. That's really helpful. So those are the type of things I'm talking about with adding experience. You don't have to have tons of things. You can keep the boxes quite short if you want, but just having those key details, that would really improve this section on my LinkedIn 100%. So thank you for that. I'll do that after this session. So from that, just as a little reflective task for you, it'd be great if you could write down a tangible achievement or result or a skill you've developed. So we just talked through skills I could add on my LinkedIn for being a student rep. So some of those that we spoke through might have got you thinking about different things that you could write on yours or skills you've got. So I think it'd be great for you guys if you wrote down some skills or achievements that you've got and the skills you could put with that. And then after the session, hopefully you can take that. And then when you work on your LinkedIn and your personal brand, that will be helpful for you. You don't have to add them in the chat, but you can if you want. But that's just a nice task for you as well. So now I'm going to cover why your online presence is important. So your online brand represents your value and your professional expertise. Social media can showcase your interest, your knowledge and insights into specific issues. You can, of course, share your achievements with colleagues and employers, followers and friends. Of course, when you use things like LinkedIn, you're developing your brand for free. You can get a LinkedIn premium, but you really don't have to. All the things I'm covering today are on the basic version of LinkedIn. You don't have to pay to be able to do these things, but you can appeal to top brands and to recruiters. And of course, it's so important to have an online presence to build a professional network and have an interest in following different companies online to increase your visibility, and also be creative in how you share your experience. So maybe make your material more searchable and keep your information up to date and relevant. And by searchable, that's why I went through how to edit your URL, as it is really important that people can find you as well, whether it's lecturers or your cohort, anything at all. That's really important. And as well, I will say that I think in today's world, an online presence is important. Now that we're in sort of a post-COVID climate, there's lots of hybrid working or working from home. We're using online resources more than ever. So having that online presence is really important for your employability, definitely. So we're going to cover now elevator pitches and how you can communicate your brand in a concise way. So what is an elevator pitch? So it's definitely a technique worth practicing, and we also call it a 30-second CV. So generally, it's a short summary of who you are and what you have done so far, whether it's your work experience, part-time work, whether it's from researching careers and what you're looking for their help with. So remember, everyone can have an elevator pitch regardless of how much experience you have. That's why I put researching careers in bold, because I really do want to make it clear that part of your brand and your pitch can be about things that you want to do and the goals that you have for your career. So you might research different scientific companies and might look at some job profiles. Prospects is a really great website to do that, and you can find what they're looking for, and that can be a part of your brand. You can say that you're really interested in developing this key skills to be able to pursue this career. You can practice with family and friends as well, but it's great to have something to say to a complete stranger. So for example, at the careers fairs we have coming up, it'd be great if you all had a 30-second CV and quick elevator pitch that you can say to employers. I do have a link there on communicating and networking, which will be posted in the chat. So just some ideas about how you can do that in person or how it's different online, and just so you've got those resources available. So I'm going to go through some of the ways as to how you can present your brand in a short and concise way. So have a selling point. So did you research the company and discover their values? Do they align with your own? Are you really interested in the things they have to offer? You might have read some of the things that people have said about the company and think that really would suit me. This would be fantastic, the opportunities you offer. So can I please learn more about that? That could be an elevator pitch. You might include the skills from your degree, so research and analysis, lab work, explaining arguments in an effective way, things like that. You may have internship experience, so you could introduce yourself and say that you did an internship to prepare you for a graduate job in whatever it might be. And at the bottom, we have an example elevator pitch that's on our website. So I won't read it all out, but you can see it covers those main things. It introduces Sam Routledge, it says who he is and the subject he's studying and what university. recently finished an internship and is looking for a career in sales and marketing. So you're trying to make that connection with the employer you're talking to. And in this example, they have an uncle who mentioned that someone works in sales. So could you spare a few minutes to tell me about your job? You don't need to have that immediate connection with someone. You could just say, for example, at the careers fair, you might go up to the Teach First table and say that you've completed some work shadowing experience at a local primary school. You'd love to hear more about the postgraduate qualification that they fund. Can you please tell me some more about that and what teaching you'd like throughout your career? That can be part of your elevator pitch. So it doesn't have to be as specific as this one, but it can just cover those key points and just make sure it does try and sum up either who you are or what it is you're looking to achieve from speaking to that person. So top tips for your elevator pitch. So first consider, as I just said, what do you want to achieve from presenting your elevator pitch to a contact? So you might want advice on career paths and qualifications. You might want to discover work experience opportunities. So some of you right now might be a first year. You might start thinking about your brand and you might really want to build up and gain some opportunities. So you can definitely use an elevator pitch to do that. You might want advice for the application process at a company, or you may just want to let them know who you are and that you might be ready for experience soon, or what your research currently is and what you hope it will be. You might be thinking of a career in academia, so part of your pitch might be to your lecturers. You might see a lecturer and think, I really want to study your module in second year. I'm hoping I could in the future do research on that. Can you give me some tips on books to read now? That can be part of your brand and your elevator pitch. And remember, an elevator pitch is more than an introduction. It's you with an angle. So whether it's your degrees, your skills, or the skills you want to develop through experience, it's really important to sort of remember that. And it is part of your first impression as well. So where are you going to network? There's so many places you can do that, whether it's online or in person. Of course, we have the careers fair, which I have a slide later with those dates as well. You can email an employer to reach out to them, sort of give them your elevator pitch and ask if there's any experience going or opportunities. Of course, LinkedIn, which is what we've been going through. So whether it's the alumni pages, connecting with people, maybe messaging them to ask for some advice. And of course, we have speculative approaches as well. So I'm going to very briefly go through a speculative approach to job searching, because I think it ties in really well with building your brand and how you can use that online or in person. So if you are thinking of maybe using a speculative approach when searching for job opportunities, it's really useful to have started to develop your personal brand. You may not know this, but 70% of opportunities are secured through a speculative job approach and through your network. So it's a really legitimate way to secure a job. So by speculative job, we just mean one that isn't advertised directly, but there is clearly an opportunity for that, but the employer just hasn't put it as an official job for you to apply for. Those positions are found very common. As you can see, 70% of them are secured that way. And I think having your personal brand that you're developing can really help you find an opportunity through a speculative approach. So it's really important to be clear what you're looking for. So whether it's information or advice about a sector, maybe some work shadowing experience or paid experience, anything at all. It's important to do your research. So show that you understand the sector or the company and that you're keen to learn more through opportunities, or that you want to learn more. Make initial contacts or use LinkedIn, of course. And we have a link there that will be posted in the chat on speculative cover letters as well, because they are very specific to that company and have to be very tailored. And again, in a cover letter of any kind, whether it's speculative or not, you will be including what your personal brand is, you know, what you're about and why you would be good for that company. So here's some questions you could ask. So you could ask these at the fair if you're going to come to the careers fair, or you could ask these on a LinkedIn message, whatever it might be. But I think it's great to have some key questions that you remember. So then if you're ever stuck for something to say, you've got these in the bank that you can say. So it might be, how would you describe your role and career path? How did you get into your current role? I think that's a really great one for students to ask. There might be some employers that have that dream job that you'd really want, but you're not sure how they got from student to that job. So that's a fantastic question. What skills do you feel are important in your work? So is it soft skills, knowledge, technical? That can be great. So you can think about what skills you might need to develop. Again, that's the next question. What kind of skills and experience would I need to get an entry-level role in this sector? Or how do people find work experience or jobs in your field? And what's your organization like as an employer? So these are some great questions to remember, again, that you can ask online, you can ask in person at a careers fair. They're really good ones to memorize, I think. So again, the 3 steps for communicating with contacts. So I've just included this here for reference. So it's reaching out to contacts, following up with successful ones. So for example, you might meet a connection at the careers fair, and you might make a good sort of conversation with them. They might tell you some great stuff about their company and mention some job opportunities. You could find them on LinkedIn and then maybe send them a message and say, hey, it was great that I met you at the careers fair, really gave me some good insight and guidance on the application process for your company. And then just have a conversation with them. You could end up sending them your CV. You just never know. So it's really great to keep up with these things. And if you do have a great sort of conversation with an employer, it's great to act on that afterwards through networking. So here's some opportunities to network while you're at university and beyond. So of course, we have our careers fairs coming up. So we've got our humanities fair next week on the 18th and 19th of October in Whitworth Hall. You can just show up to that. You don't have to sign up online. And we have the last of the STEM fair on the 26th of October in MECD. So we've had a couple of those this week. You might have already been to and started networking, which is fantastic. And we have lots of other opportunities as well. So whether it's Meet the Grad events, where you can talk to alumni about how they found their jobs and career paths, what they love about their job, and ask for some advice. And our graduates love coming back and speaking to students. They've all been in your position, so that's a great opportunity as well. Student societies as well, you know, networking is all a part of being a student as well. You network with your cohort and with different students, and lots of societies are listed on the Students' Union website as well, and many of them do run social and networking events for you to get involved in. There's professional networks you can get involved in. So lots of professions have a professional body or an organisation you can join. So we have our sector pages to find out about that as well. And of course, we have a link there at the bottom to our international and alumni networks. So again, you will be sent these slides so you can check those out closer as well if there's certain sectors that you really want to network in. We've put these together. If you're not sure where to start with networking, this is a great place to begin. To the next page. So another little quick task for you to just do on your own now as a reflective exercise. So maybe write 3 words that a close friend or a family member or a lecturer or employer would use to describe you. So anything at all. Again, I think it just really helps for you to think about what your brand is, what part of your selling pitch is. So I think that's a great thing to consider. Just think of 3 words that someone else would say to describe you. I think this is useful as well. As I said earlier, it can be quite tricky writing about yourself. So it can help if you think about what your friends would say about you or what your lecturers would, whether it's hardworking, whether you're great at researching, and whether you're just nice and enthusiastic, whatever it might be. These are all things that can be a part of your brand as well. So what can you do now to build your personal brand? So hopefully you can use the content that you've thought about today as a starting point to consider what you want your brand to be. Hopefully you can seek out opportunities to reinforce your brand. So whether it's virtual internships or work experience, volunteering, it could just be reading and blogging and sharing content, even just going on LinkedIn and reading just some of the articles that are posted and commenting on them, maybe sharing them. That can all be part of your brand and networking. It doesn't have to be a huge, exhausting task. There's many different ways you can network. And also consider how you can promote yourself on social media. So again, as we discussed before, and we have those great suggestions in the chat, you can edit your LinkedIn description. So instead of history student, you could put that you're aspiring policymaker, or you're an inclusion officer at the University of Manchester's History Society, or that you've been a student experience intern. It's just about adding those key things in there. And a great place to start is considering what you've learned today and how you can take that onto your online profile and present it in person. So remember, some key things to remember with your personal brand is to be up to date. So this includes social media, LinkedIn, and any of the websites or online portfolios you have. Even if it's a role you're not yet starting, so it might be that you've gained an internship for next summer, you can put that on your LinkedIn. You might want to put what your dissertation plans are. If you think you might want to stay in academia or go into a job that relates to your research, you can definitely put that on there. Of course, be accessible and approachable, so make sure you check messages regularly and your contact details are up to date, but also be aware of privacy settings with that as well. Be authentic. So we do know that we live in a world where filters are a very commonplace, but equally not being genuine can work against you. So that's why earlier I spoke about the different sides of LinkedIn and why people do share challenges they've had and how to overcome them as well. So be strategic also. So consider what and how you share content. And if you're unsure, please do come and see us. You do have access to our support and resources for 2 years after you graduate as well. And just again, as a reminder, you can book an applications appointment if you do want us to look at your LinkedIn, or maybe a cover letter for a job, or anything at all it might be. So do come and speak to us if you're unsure. So some online presence and branding FAQs. So we've got, these are some of the most popular questions we get. So should I have separate profiles for personal and professional use for my online presence? There's not an obvious yes or no answer, but it can depend on what your activity is like online. So if you do like to post a lot, for example, and it might be things you're doing with your friends, or it might be all kinds of different things, you might want a separate professional one that is purely for things that is to do with your career goals or the sector you're looking to work in. I think for things like LinkedIn, because it is that professional platform, that in itself, you would only have the one version of it normally that is your brand and yourself. But for things like, for example, Facebook or Instagram, whatever it might be, you might keep those separate if you do have a workplace one. Should I use a range of different social media platforms or focus on one? Again, it's a very personal decision with that. I think LinkedIn is a great one to have that you check regularly and that you update the most, because again, you can find jobs on there, so many opportunities on there. So it is the most useful out of the social media platforms in terms of progression for your career and finding those opportunities and for networking. So for number 3, will employers look at my online presence when you make an application? They absolutely can. A lot of the times they might search you on LinkedIn to have a look at what you're up to on there. They might look on Instagram. You just never know. I think what's important to remember is that an employer most likely won't say that they're going to, but that doesn't mean they won't. So it is important that your online profiles are, of course, appropriate, like things like LinkedIn. A key thing I always remind as well that I've got at the bottom is to remember to use an appropriate email address for your online platforms. There might be ones you've had since you were very young, and so it's really important for your LinkedIn that you have a current email address that maybe just has your name and a few numbers afterwards, and nothing like, you know, Ronaldo Man United at whatever.com. Make sure it's relevant and it's you as well, because if employers see something that's quite childish or like a funny email address, it's not going to make the best impression. And also number 4 was, how actively should I engage on the platforms? I think it's really important for things like LinkedIn to keep it very active and up to date with what it is you're working on. Again, this doesn't mean constantly having new things to add to your section. So you don't constantly need to have experiences that you add or new internships to add. It can just be that you're networking with people. You might be sharing posts or liking posts. That's engaging on the platforms, and that's still just as relevant to your brand as anything else is at all. So just as a reminder, please do join our recent Graduate Careers Network. It's a fantastic place. We've got the QR code there, or a bit.ly link as well to join today that will be posted in the chat. So you can connect with other recent graduates from the university, lots of them in so many different sectors. So you can find out about the opportunities there and gain and share some employability tips and advice. It's incredibly useful. So please do check that out. And please come to our careers fair so you can actually start using these networking skills that we've covered today. These are the dates for them. So again, the autumn careers fair is the 18th and 19th, and the STEM one is the 26th. So please do come to those fairs, and you can start maybe testing out your elevator pitch. And please do just stay on for the last few minutes for these last slides. So this is how to contact us. Of course, we have things like web chat, queries on Career Connect. We have our social medias, or we have drop-ins across campus too. And you can come to the atrium in University Place if you do have any questions and to come speak to us. We'd love for you to stay connected with us. This is the best way to see our most current events and different things that we're running and sign up to them. So please do check out things like our Instagram, YouTube and Facebook. But please do take a minute to fill out our feedback form. It just takes 1 minute. Thank you so much for attending today's session. It's incredibly helpful for us to get feedback so we can know what kind of things students are interested in learning about or finding out about. So please do fill out the feedback form. I am going to stop the recording now, and then we can have a Q&A if anyone does have any questions at all.